production. NintendoGuru.com production.
We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. F it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
What is up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Nintendo Talk Live. I am Bobby, the Nintendo Guru, joined, and this is the truth, one of the most creative people on YouTube. Luis, what is up, man? How you doing, buddy?
Hi. I didn't expect the introduction. Nice to be here.
You know what, dude? I actually, and I was gonna do this when we were off the air, and I was like, no, don't do this. Say this. So, I believe we have a mutual friend, right? Joey Ferris.
Mm-hmm.
Correct? Okay. So, and that's how I think I first came to know who you were, because I remember like maybe a year or so ago, maybe 2 years ago, there was conversations, and like you and I were kind of tagged in those conversations, but we never really like spoke. This is the first time we've ever really actually had conversations.
Yeah, for sure.
I actually saw like a week ago, well, actually a month ago now, you had posted like, hey, anybody interested in getting, I want to do some podcasts, so anybody that's interested, let me know. So I hit you up, and then, we worked it out to finally make this happen. But so I jumped in and I started like looking through your stuff, and I was like, oh my God, dude, your content is just, your video essays, your reviews, top notch, man. Seriously. And I'm blown away by it. I saw it today. Well, I saw some today, and I've been watching all week. Just trying to like digest and figure out what the heck, everything you do. And I was just like floored. Like, I'm like, man, this guy has it nailed when it comes to video essays. Because to me, video essays are, if they're done really well, they're so entertaining to watch.
Oh yeah, I'm in love with a few film critics that do video essays. So that's like my background music for writing.
And you do, dude, you crush it. Like, seriously, like you watch the content, and it's like just so well done. The everything is just perfectly done. I'm that's why I said what I said, because I'm really floored by what you do. So, real quick, let everybody know that might be here that don't know who you are and all that stuff. Like, let them know what you do, where they can find you, and all that good stuff.
Hi, I'm Luis Alamilla. I'm a uni student that also does video game reviews online. I've been doing this since I was 12. I play on just about everything. Want to be a video game critic when I grow up, or once I graduate college, and this is like my hustle right now. You can find me at just my name, Luis Alamilla, pretty much anywhere.
Joey Ferris decided to show up in the chat.
Yeah.
He's got a special request for you, so I don't
This is like as much as you'll get.
I appreciate the Nintendo New York shirt. Or sweatshirt. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's the common thing, right? Every video game YouTuber has to like wear the shirt in order to prove they're like their fan.
Yeah. They're a fan of Nintendo.
Yeah.
So let's jump in and calm down, Joey. Calm down. I can totally see you flipping the table. Anybody that's watched Joey's content, like he can rage sometimes. Okay, so let's start off real easy question. We're gonna throw some softballs at you, get you prepped up. You know what I mean? Like you should be able to answer these questions. What is the first Nintendo console that you ever owned?
It's kind of a twofer. My father had a Super Nintendo when I was born, and he bought an N64 the year I was born, and used me as an excuse as to why he bought it. So I kind of inherited both an N64 and a Super Nintendo, and so I kind of had a mix of both growing up during the late 90s. I was born in 96, so played a lot of Mario 64, a lot of Super Mario World, Kirby Superstar, definitely.
Oh boy! All right, we gotta end this call. Well, this is done. Kirby's a no-go on this chat now. Just kidding. What is the first? It's crazy that your dad bought. This is just bad. Your dad bought an N64 the day you're born. That's the first Nintendo console I actually bought with my own money. So it scares me a little bit. Like
it's very insane for a dad to be like, "Oh, a newborn, let's give him an N64 controller." That seems easy to understand.
He'll just be like gnawing on the analog sticks and stuff. It's okay. What is the first Nintendo console that you bought with your own money?
I remember this vividly. It was the Wii, and it was great and terrible because I went to Target. I had saved up, I think, $300 over like a year and a half. I was so excited for the Nintendo Revolution at the time.
Yes. And
I went outside Target, just waited in line. I think I skipped school for it because it was I think I remember exactly. It was like November 16th, 2006. I like vividly remember this.
Oh my God.
Waited outside, was like 2 spots out of the line to not get it. So I think there was like 100 spots and I was like 102.
No.
I was like, darn. And I had $300. I think the Wii was $250. So I gave someone $50 for their spot in line.
Get out of here.
The system didn't have a game. I just played Wii Sports.
No, you did not. $50 for their spot in line.
I was desperate. I wanted that revolution.
Oh my God. So, okay. Was this like how close to launch? Was this launch day?
This was launch day. So this is what, 2006? I was around 11, right? Oh no, I was 10.
10 years old, wheeling and dealing in order to get this thing.
I wanted that revolution.
I guess you did, man. So
Sonic what was it called before Secret Wings? Like Sonic Wildfire, I think, or something like that.
I think so, yeah. And then they started calling it Revolution, and then it eventually switched to Wii, which I like the name Revolution so much better. I wish they would have kept.
Yeah, it's so much better.
You know what I mean? Like that was a cool name.
Yeah.
But whatever, it is what it is. They always, because I remember when I was a kid, they were originally calling the N64 the Ultra 64, and then because of copyright and trademarking by Konami, they couldn't use that name, and they had to back off that name. Okay, so, but you know the crazy thing is like, and I truly believe this, if you wouldn't have got it then, it could have been years before you got it.
Oh, yeah. I made a smart choice. People were reselling those for like $600 at the time.
When I bought
I saved some money.
When I got mine originally, when I got my original Wii, I actually, for Christmas, I wanted to buy my nephew one. I spent $500 on it. And then my ex-wife actually went to the same eBayer and bought me one for $500. So for 2 Wiis, we paid $1,000 at Christmas. It's like nuts, man. So you jumped on at the right time. That was pretty smart. Okay, so what is your favorite Nintendo console? And I want to say this. So prior to us coming on the air, you were like, "Oh my God, that's a hard one because I'm torn between 2." And then I go, "You're not allowed to say the Switch." You're like, "Okay, I got it now."
Yeah.
But
so
here's my reasoning for saying that. I want to preface this before we get into it. I feel like the Switch is the hotness right now, absolutely, but it's still too new for people to say like that's. I mean, it could be your favorite at the moment, but like your favorite of all time, it's still just a little too new.
I mean, we're only just under 2 years into it.
Yeah, so you still have a ways to go yet. So, but go ahead. What is your favorite Nintendo console?
If it wasn't the Switch, it'd be the GameCube, because I think that's where at that point I was looking at magazines all the time. I was really invested into it, and it's not like the best selling Nintendo console, but it was the one I was the most invested in.
Yeah,
and I mean, there's so many great games on the GameCube. Got decent third-party support. I think it was powerful for the time too, in comparison to the other consoles too.
It was the most powerful at the time, which is surprising for Nintendo because they normally don't go that. They normally don't go that route with the power. They kind of back off that 9 times out of 10, they're not the most powerful console on the market. But they were with this particular case, and it also had internet, but they never used it. And they did a lot. For me, the GameCube is a weird era because they tried so many different things. Like, the games that came out were just so different than what we were used to, where they weren't traditional in any sense of Nintendo games. I mean, like, they start off, you got Luigi's Mansion. It was like, wait, where's the Mario game? Like, we're expecting Mario. But
even the Mario game at the time was very different too.
Yeah, very, very. Like, you're just like washing paint off of stuff, and it was like, what is going on here? Like, what is this? And then like, 2 Zelda games essentially. The one people just turned their backs on at the time, and like ate Nintendo's lunch for Wind Waker. How were you when Wind Waker came out? Were you on board with it, or were you?
I was on board. I don't think I was that critical of like visuals back then, so I was like fine. I don't think I ever became very cynical with visuals, so I don't think I ever had that bug in me where I was like, this isn't realistic enough. I don't want to play it.
Yeah. For me, with Wind Waker at least, like I fell in love with it just because I'm a huge fan of Disney. I love their art style, and to me, it was like, oh my god, I'm playing a Disney game. Like I'm actually playing a Disney cartoon. So I loved it. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, this is amazing. But I remember at that time, man, people just flipped and lost their minds. Like, this is not what we want. And a lot of it has to do with the tech demo that they put out that year or a couple of years earlier that just looks so realistic. And then Twilight Princess comes at the end of the life cycle, which ends up on the Wii. Which version did you buy it on?
I bought it on the GameCube.
You bought Twilight Princess on the GameCube?
Yeah.
Okay. What was... On the GameCube, like, what was your go-to game? Like, what was one of your favorites?
It was pretty much all the first-party stuff. So it was like Sunshine, Luigi's Mansion, Metroid Prime series, Wind Waker, Mario Strike, all the sports games. Yeah. I was super into randomly NBA 2K featuring the Mario Brothers. NBA 2K Street featuring the Mario Brothers.
That was a crazy thing, dude.
It was so good.
When that came out, I was like, what is happening right here? You know, like, that is just insane. So, growing up, playing, was Nintendo always your first choice growing up? Or, because you do a lot of stuff on your channel. It's just not Nintendo stuff on your channel. You basically do everything that comes down the pipe. But growing up, were you basically a Nintendo kid, or?
Up into 2006, I was essentially Nintendo because I just didn't have anything else growing up. I think besides like all the Nintendo games during the PS2 GameCube era, the only game I played on like anything that wasn't on GameCube was like Kingdom Hearts on PS2.
Okay.
That's about it.
What transitioned you to start getting into other stuff? Like, what made that switch happen to go like, okay, there's other stuff out here?
I think it was like very narrow-minded to only play Nintendo games, and so after the PS3 stopped costing like a month's of rent.
Oh my god!
I bought one for I think when the Slim model came out with Infamous 2. I bought that, made my way towards the library because around that time it was 2010, so you had Infamous 2, Heavenly Sword, all the good PS3 games that made it worth actually buying. Eventually, I got like a 360 arcade model. And bought like a used hard drive. I went like the cheapest route to getting every console essentially.
Well, I mean, you have to back during that era, you had to. Like,
Yeah.
dude, a PS3 was like $600, $700. Like at one point, like it was just madness.
It was insane.
Yeah, like when they put that out, I was like, oh, they're done. I mean, I feel like, I could be wrong. Like, I feel like they basically helped Nintendo crush them in that era.
I mean, they didn't set themselves up too well.
No, I mean, like the graphics obviously were night and day. They had HD, Nintendo didn't. But like, you would think that in that particular situation, like Nintendo should get trounced. But the pricing was so astronomical that like nobody. I didn't touch one. The only thing that made me finally buy one was they announced DC Universe Online coming, and I was really interested in that. That and then the Arkham series. They were the only two that kind of started like leaning me to go buy a PS3. But like, dude, I hemmed and hawed for a very long time because I was like, this is just way too expensive.
It was a big investment.
Yeah. So growing up, what is one of your fondest memories with the Nintendo console?
Playing a lot of the Mario sports games with my friends. I was super into, I think it was called Mario Superstar Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
I was absurdly attached to that game. And then I think the Wii version, or not the Wii version, the Wii sequel came out, Sluggers or something like that.
Yes.
So I played a bit of that once it came out, but I still like, even like if I have a GameCube around and my friends are here, I'll still play Superstar Baseball. I'm oddly obsessed with it.
It was a good game. That was also the era that Nintendo started to leave essentially the realistic sports games. Like the N64, they had like Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball, but they just started to leave all that stuff behind and going with the more Mario stuff. Golf, they always kind of had a Mario twist on it. Tennis, they always kind of had a Mario twist on it. But baseball was just, they would do realistic baseball games. And then something just hit, and they were like, okay, let's switch it up a little bit. Okay, so let's get into like, let's move a little bit forward a little bit. Mm-hmm. What are you looking most forward to this year from Nintendo?
I want to see what their first party lineup is that we don't know of just yet. So like Animal Crossing, what Metroid looks like. Well, that's gonna be a couple of years off.
You have a little bit of weight on that one. Don't say that too loud. Joey Ferris will start flipping tables.
Because I've heard a few things here and there of games that are in the making right now that haven't been announced. So I'm curious to see how those pan out. I'm really excited for a lot of indie games. So recently I got super into Sayonara Wild Hearts. I really want to play that game. Mm-hmm. I love like everything I've seen about it so far. I think there's just a lot of good indie games coming to it as of lately. I mean, I'm excited for like a Untitled Goose Game. Mm-hmm. I don't know what that game is about at all, but I'm very excited for it. When Tetris 99 came out, I have this Tetris bug on me right now that I'm super obsessed with Tetris, and so when Tetris 99 got announced, I just lost it.
Okay, let's put a pin in it for a second. Let's talk Tetris 99. How good are you at that game?
I've won a few rounds.
Have you won?
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude, that game is so hard.
I was addicted to Tetris Effect. I'm still addicted to Tetris Effect, so I've had a good amount of practice. And then beforehand, I was playing a lot of Puyo Puyo Tetris on Switch. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you had asked me at the beginning of the year, beginning of 2018, that one of my favorite games was a $40 Tetris game, I'd laugh. And now I'm like super obsessed with it.
Okay, so what's your strategy when you're playing Tetris 99?
I just honestly for the first few days I just played because I could not. I did not know that you could target certain types of players. Yeah, it was like 3 days later I figured that out. So for those first 3 days, we're just like, don't lose, or just keep playing and try not to lose. And then after that, I go for, I think, attackers, and then whoever has the most badges towards the end of the game.
Okay. Because it's the weird thing about that game is you could be not dominating, but like you could be dominating your board, or like you have no lines at all, or one or two lines, and you're just really honed in, and then within seconds, your game could be done. And it's like
the top 15. That's like when it really starts.
Oh, it gets nuts, dude. I think the closest I got was, I want to say 13 is the best I did, and I was going within seconds. Like, it was just like all of a sudden, like all these lines coming at me, like when people were attacking. And I'm like, I'm not even attacking it. Like, why are you coming after me? Like, what did I do? And it's just like, boom. It was like line, done. And I was like, well, there goes that. It's like, it's crazy because you have to. The weird thing is the way I typically play Tetris is when the blocks are coming down, I'm taking my time, and I'm just kind of like building to prepare for Tetrises, to try to get the points racked up. You can't do that in this. Because you have to like stay aggressive and start throwing junk wherever you can to kind of. Yeah. So it makes it a little bit tougher, You have to keep the lines like low.
My advice is to learn T-spins. It's like everyone like knows what they are, doesn't learn how to do them, and they're like about the same amount of points as a Tetris, but with fewer lines.
So a T-spin. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's like when there's something kind of wedged in a weird spot, and you'll spin. And it'll flop down in. Like, it looks like you can't get a piece in there, but you hit it, and it rotates in.
The T-block will perfectly fit in if you turn it. And like, if you look at it, it doesn't make sense that it'll fit in there.
Yeah.
But it kind of just works.
Yeah. Good Lord. That's... do you ever stream that game?
No, some people have been asking me to. I just can't find the time. I live in a shared apartment, so quiet time is quite rare. That's why we had to schedule this so far into the future.
You're just like, everybody get out of the place. I need an hour alone. Just go
away.
That's
pretty much it.
Okay, so back to what you're most expecting in 2019. What was your feelings when Metroid kind of blew up? Were you expecting that, or what was your thoughts in all this?
I wasn't expecting it. I was assuming we'd see like something by E3, but to say I'm like a diehard Metroid fan would be a lie. I like Metroid, but I'm not too bummed out if they need more time to work on it. Mm-hmm. I'm sure it'll come out as a better game in the future anyway. I'm
hoping so, yeah.
Yeah, but it was surprising, just like more the take they went about on how to announce that with a video than the actual news, I'd say.
And there was people saying after the fact that like they did the same thing with Zelda Breath of the Wild. Like, it was very similar where they came out with a video just randomly and was just like, hey, well, they didn't just basically drop the bomb that like, hey, we're starting over from scratch. They were just like, hey, we need more time and we're going to take more time to do. I'll be honest with you, I was actually floored the day that the news came out because I did not think that that's the direction they were going. I thought, okay, they're working on it. They're doing their thing. I didn't know who was working on it because they were very vague on that. There was rumors of like Bandai Namco with a team of their own kind of, because they had hired a couple of people from Konami that worked on Metal Gear Solid 5. So I kind of really thought like, okay, they're building a fresh team to work on this. And then all of a sudden they come out that morning and they're like, yeah, we're done. We're not going to do it. And Retro's coming back. And I was like, what the heck just happened here?
Well, I was confused as to why they weren't the first choice. But in terms of like the issues, I had heard that there was different parts of the game being worked on by different studios. And so you had that Crackdown 3 effect where, different parts of the game felt differently than other parts of the game. Yeah. And so it didn't come together very well.
I know, and I don't really I don't talk about it. I try to keep it limited, but I know that there was a lot of issues at Retro. Some internal stuff that kind of went down that would surprise people. Like, people think that they were working on other stuff, and from what I've heard, they weren't working on anything. And that's the part that surprises people, that they were like, oh, they have been doing, like, they were working on small, very minute bit pieces, not what people thought they were. Because everybody thought they were working on some Star Fox game.
Yeah.
I really don't believe that exists. From the stuff that I heard, there's no way that thing exists. But who knows? It's neither here nor there. I saw you were talking. I watched your video today where you were talking. Well, I watched it today, but your video where you were talking about like some anticipated games that are coming out in 2019, and that, again, that's the gambit. That's all different consoles and stuff.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, you start off. You're like, I'm not going to talk about Metroid, and I'm not going to talk about Animal Crossing because we only got,
logos.
wallpaper logos. We didn't get anything. And but are you an Animal Crossing fan?
Oh yeah, I got into it very early on, but I think like I really got hooked on it with New Leaf. I think a lot of people did.
Yeah.
I'm just curious to see how it looks and how it takes advantage of the online being on the home console now, because the last time it was on the home console, was like, oh look, we speak. You could plop it on top of your TV and say hi to somebody.
That was crazy. I did a video yesterday where I was talking about I took my favorite things from Animal Crossing, and on City Folk, the We Speak was my favorite thing, because I would wake up really super early to play that game before I went to work. I would have to leave the house at 5 o'clock to go. Or I'd have to leave by like 7 or something like that to get. I was running a landscape company at the time, so I'd have to get out ahead of the guys, and I'd wake up at like 4:30, 5 o'clock to play, and I would play with people from Japan, and it was like so cool to like. You're so naive, you know what I mean? Like, you don't, like, the internet's kind of changed. Like, the past couple of years, things are different, you know what I mean? Like, you're not blown away by some of the stuff that we can do nowadays. But I was so naive to think, like, well, they don't speak English over there. They don't speak English at all. Like, they don't know what I'm talking about. But, like, I was playing with younger kids, and they all spoke English very well. It's like, it's a required course in Japan.
Yeah, so
like,
if anything, younger kids will know more English than adults who forgot what they learned.
Yes. So I'm playing and I'm like, this is so cool. Like, and the funny thing is that they wanted to play with me because they're like, you can help me with my English. I'm getting
it's conversation practice.
Yeah, it's practice for them, and it's like this is so. But they are so like generous. I'd go there and they'd have all these Japanese exclusive items that they're giving me, and I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. And at the time I was married, and I'd wake up and I'd start playing, and cell phones weren't like, they were major at the time, but it wasn't like it is today. Like today, it's like you're texting, you're like they're attached to our hips. I'd wait till I get home. I'd be like, oh, you got to see these items that I got today. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I woke up this morning. I was playing with these kids from Japan. She'd be all pissed off at me because I'm like, I got items that she can't get. I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. Did you play any on the GameCube or?
I played a bit on the GameCube. I wasn't as obsessed with it. I think once I had it on my 3DS and I could play it anywhere, that's when I got really obsessed with it. And I was super late into getting a DS. I didn't get a DS until Diamond and Pearl came out.
Okay.
So by then, I think it had been out already, or it was still like fairly new that I didn't jump in right away.
So are you a Pokemon kid?
It's been dying down over time, but I'm still like invested, I would say.
Or did you get excited the other day?
I wouldn't say I got super excited, but like I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna review it. I enjoyed Let's Go. I feel like I should start off by saying that because not everyone did.
Yeah, I did.
But I'm looking forward to it. I'm stuck between which starter I want to get, but like hopefully I can figure it out. I'm stuck between the water and the green or the leaf type or grass type.
Why would you pick those two?
Well, the grass type has a bashi in his hair. A bashi is like the stick or drumstick you would use on a taiko machine, and I'm super into taiko as of lately.
Oh my god.
And then the water type is just like sadly depressed, and that kind of like speaks to me, so I kind of want to pick the water type too.
Oh my god. That's your reasoning. Not the fact they both look alike. They both look very similar.
I mean, they all look like probably a vaguely like fan art of some other starters. They don't look too distinct. I'll say that much.
No, that's the thing. Like I felt like this is the worst set of starters I've ever seen.
I just think it's like if they're still limiting themselves to fire, grass, and water, they're kind of like they don't have a lot to work with at the moment. If they choose other types, and there's a lot more designs I would pick.
But to be fair, I don't understand why, as Pokemon have evolved, why they haven't given more choices at the start. Like, I get these were the starters in the original. But, like, man, we're what, 20-something years later? Like, and we have other stuff like Psychic and Ghost and all that stuff and Fairy. And to say, like, hey, we're going to give you a couple more options. Maybe you pick from 5 or whatever, 5 starters. I don't know. I don't understand the whole thought process of that.
I guess it would throw off the balance of like the chain and the order of the gym leaders and stuff. But there's like that's so much
possible.
technical design stuff too.
Did you play Sun and Moon at all?
Yeah, so you could pick the different orders of things.
That's what I was gonna say. That system was a little bit different than typical Pokemon games, right? Like, I didn't play much of that game, so I don't know.
But you could choose the order essentially.
Okay.
Once you got to a point.
So it was a little different than in the past, where it was kind of like you're stuck in a path to go.
Yes. I also just imagine Game Freak doesn't want to mess too much with the basic formula. That's why they're like, we're gonna make a different game, but it's not a main game, so it's its own thing. Don't worry about it. We'll make another one. That's what I'm really curious to see how, because they just announced they're remaking the first movie in CGI, and I'm really curious to see how people take that.
Oh, you know they're gonna be mad.
Yeah, so presumably everyone's gonna get mad. I'm curious to see how they react once they've seen the movie. But
exactly.
I think that'll speak to how they take any changes in the main games too.
Now, what's your thoughts on Detective Pikachu, the movie?
I can't say much. So I think I'm allowed to say I've seen a screener for it a long time ago because that was public.
What?
So I saw a screener for it a long time ago. That was public news because anyone could sign up for it. And it was like on the advertisement.
As a screener, you saw the movie.
Yeah, and I can't say anything else besides that.
Get the hell out of it. So you saw the whole movie already?
I saw a version of the movie.
Okay, so they could have made changes, is what you're saying.
Probably.
Oh, you gotta be kidding. Okay, so when did this happen?
October, I think.
So it could have...
It was before the first trailer.
That's what I was saying. It's before the first trailer. So they could potentially make changes before it comes.
Don't sue me, Warner Brothers.
They're not. Listen, trust me, they're not watching this channel. You're fine. You're fine. Don't worry about it. The only time they acknowledge this channel is when they copyright claim my Detective Pikachu reaction for the trailer.
It was essentially just living in LA. If you live in, it's open across the country, but there's people who's like screeners come. They won't even tell you what movie it is. Sometimes they'll just say like, come watch this movie for free, 7 p.m. And then sometimes they'll tell you the studio. Sometimes they won't tell you the studio. But this specific screener, they had said Detective Pikachu. I was like, okay, why not? I don't know when this is coming out.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah. Okay, well, since you can't talk about it.
What do you think about it?
I like it. I like... The Pokemon are some of them a little creepy looking. Because the textures,
the fur on everything.
Yeah, the fur is a little weird, a little off-putting, but you would assume that's kind of they would have fur. You know what I mean? Like, but we're so used to seeing them in cartoon.
You don't think about it until
you don't think about that stuff. You don't think that Pikachu has like fur. The scaly ones are kind of weird. Like Mr. Mime is like legitimately creepy as hell.
He's much more humanoid than you'd expect.
Yeah, it's like a little off-putting when you see that. So. But I'm very impressed with. First off, I love Ryan Reynolds. I think Ryan Reynolds is a phenomenal actor, and I love it. To me, it's almost like Deadpool 2.0. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's very similar to what he does with Deadpool.
Same persona, just doesn't swear that much.
Yeah, that's all it is.
He swears, but not as much.
That's all it is. So we could basically get a Deadpool PG-13 Deadpool and be fine with that. Like, I mean, like, it wouldn't be the same movie. But so far, I'm in. I'm definitely in. And, dude, seeing Mewtwo get revealed, in the spoilers, if anybody didn't watch the trailer, seeing him get, like, revealed and stuff was like, oh my god, I'm done. I don't want to watch another trailer again. Like, if they put a third and a fourth, I'm done. I'm not watching no more. I'm just like, let's go. Let's watch this thing and see what's up. And it's weird because I'm not the biggest Pokemon fan in the world. I enjoy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
I would say I'm on the same bar. Like I can't probably name any of the generations in the last two off the top of my head, besides like the starters. But I enjoy Pokemon. I've reviewed every single one in the last few years, so I've played them at least.
That's pretty awesome. As far as reviewing, like, do you enjoy that aspect of? I mean, you said you want to become a reviewer, a game reviewer, but like, what What turned that on for you? Like,
So when I started YouTube, I was doing a lot of tech stuff, a lot of like phone reviews and computer stuff. And that market got really saturated, and I didn't really like what it became. And my other big passion was video games. I played video games all the time, so
yeah,
I love talking about it. I like just discussing video game news, so I thought to make a channel about it, and I've been doing it since. I think I started this channel in 2012, but I was doing like video game stuff since the day I was born.
yeah,
Uh, and growing up, I watched like a lot of IGN, a lot of GameSpot, Polygon back when I think in 2000 when the PS4 and 3 or PS4 and the Xbox One came out, they were still doing like traditional video reviews and stuff.
yeah. That was a little different, but
Yeah. So really into that. Always wanted to work for one of those companies. And so now I'm just doing it independently, sort of growing my portfolio of like, look, I've been doing this for years now. And that's how I got into it.
is that the goal to go work for like IGN or Kotaku or something like that? Or
It's one of the goals, I guess. It would be like if I can sustain this as an independent job, I'd do it full time all the time. But
yeah,
I mean, it's pretty small now.
yeah,
If an offer comes first, then maybe I'll do that. Maybe eventually I'll work there and then I'll leave and do my own thing.
yeah.
It's kind of just like a matter of time and
It's
how the
nice
situation
though.
pans out.
I mean, it's nice to obviously where you live is a good help. You know what I mean? Like you're
Yeah.
there in the middle of it all. But it's nice though that you know you're young enough. You're just coming out of college, and you're kind of poised where you can pick and choose where you want to go, and you have a couple options on the table for you. So that's pretty awesome. That's not a lot of people have that option. And they're confused. But at least you're like, hey man, I can either go this way. Like, who knows? I mean, if the YouTube thing was to blow up in the next 6 months, then
Yeah.
you know where you're staying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not like and I say that it's not like you're a slouch. Dude. You got like 59,000 subs. Like you're doing really good, man.
I'm putting in the effort, so hopefully it does pan out. But I mean, I think a lot of YouTubers are also like against working traditional media. I've never been like that. Like that excites me. I'd love to do something more traditional if the opportunity comes up. I had been recruited. When was the Nintendo position open at IGN? Was that a year and a half ago?
That was the one that Philip Musin got, right? That's what you're talking
Yes.
about.
So
That
fall
was just before Switch, right?
fall 2017, I think.
I think so. It was because Jose Otero was there at the launch of Switch, and then he left and went to Nintendo. It was like right
So it was
after
fall
that.
2017.
Yeah.
So I'd been recruited to interview for the position, but I was still in uni. I was in my junior year, and I was like, okay, if this pans out, I'd love to do it, but like I still got a year to go, and I got student loans, so I couldn't take it. So had to turn down the interview offer. But if something comes up in the future, I'd definitely like to interview.
So you had an interview offer and you had to turn it down. Oh, that sucks. Who knows, man? You could have, you know what I mean? Like you could have been a better version of Philip.
Yeah, I haven't spoken much about what happened, but just I saw the aftermath.
Yeah, that was brutal. That was horrible. I didn't expect that at all. I'll be honest with you. I wasn't a huge fan of what he brought to IGN. I felt like his hosting on the podcast on NBC wasn't the best. I felt like, man, they got better people there that could be doing this. I wish they would. But then as time went on, it was like, well, he's the mainstay. It's going to be what it is. That day that thing blew up, I was just like, what just happened? Like, this is nuts. I mean, you think about it. Like, you could have gone in. You could have been like, stealing Joey Ferris's review stuff.
It was weird because I was a big IGN, or I still am a big IGN fan. So when I watched their Nintendo stuff, I was there for like when Rich George was still doing stuff, and it was Jose. And then when Philip, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Philippe joined, it was like, I know this person because we had met at E3 a few times. I was like, I wasn't as enticed to watch the content because I was like, I know him. I kind of know his opinion on stuff already, so I wasn't too enticed to watch stuff. And so when I had read that news online, I was like, whoa, that's insane.
Yeah, right? It's just like, what the heck? It was, man, that was, for me, it was just one of these things of like, man, what do you do? Like, it's weird because the news comes out and everybody's just grabbing pitchforks and stuff, and I'm just like, I don't want to be part of that.
Yeah, same here.
I kind of just want to let's see what happens. Let's see. And I was at least giving them the benefit of the doubt, but then the apologies or lack thereof started coming out, and I was just like, oh, dude, you got to do better than this, man. You're hurting yourself. And it's still, I'm not the type of person that wants to jump and pile on and bury him. I feel like he's screwed himself. You know what I mean? Like, he'll never technically work again in doing this stuff. Like, he'll never be trusted again. So he did it to himself. He knows what he did. Me sitting there screaming at him isn't going to change anything.
What I would say was just like, what happened. Anything I say won't add on to the conversation much.
Exactly. So here's something I'm curious about. Because you play different consoles, you do different stuff. Recently, just this week, it gets announced that Resident Evil is coming to the Switch. They're going to bring 0 and 1 physically as well as digitally to the Switch. But Resident Evil 4 is going to be strictly digital. It's $29.99 on the Switch, but $15.99 on PlayStation and Xbox. What's your take with the whole Switch tax or Nintendo tax that's happening? Like, what's your take on it all?
I think I understand the cartridge cost thing, especially when it's like, here's 3 games, and then one of them has to be digital because the cost, the higher memory, the more the cartridge cost. It sucks. But I guess I understand the logic behind it, and it's just kind of like you have to deal with it. There's a few other companies that will bite the bullet and cough up the money and take less profits and hope that sales are better. Yeah. And it's kind of it depends on the company, but it's just like something you have to deal with on Switch. And some of these it's a collection, and you'll get one of them on the cartridge and you have to download the other. Yeah. It's just part of the infrastructure or the way the system was built.
Yeah, I'm not pleased because it's a hard pill to swallow that they're going to charge me $29.99 on Switch and then double the price. Like it's not like it's something that hasn't been happening. It's been happening since the Switch basically launched. Like, the biggest one that I can remember when it launched was Rhyme. Rhyme was the first one to do it, but it was like $10 more. And
then Rhyme was like objectively a worse game on Switch. Like, it ran worse.
Yeah, man, it was so bad. I was just talking about that today. I went to the retro game store, and my buddy that owns it, he just sold Rhyme. Like, me and him were talking about it. I was like, dude, that game was bad on Switch. He's like, oh my god, dude, it ran so horrible. And he was like, I was glad to see it come to Switch, but my god, like, it was like they did nothing to fix it or to work on it, and it was just like so bad.
I think that's why it's hard to review those like late in the life ports. Like when Doom came out on Switch, I was like, this is good. It's not as great looking. It's fun to play. Yeah. It's $60 though, and if you don't own a PC, PS4, Xbox One, and you for some reason want to spend like 600% more of the price that's on the other platform, then yeah, it's good. But if you own a PC that could run Doom, it's $10. Get it there instead.
Yeah, I am so I can't play first-person shooter games, right? I get sick when I play them, and Destiny's probably the only FPS that I can play and not get sick to my stomach. Doom was one of those games that, like, I really wasn't interested because, again, I was like, this game's going to make me sick. I don't want to play it. And then I watched the no-clip documentary that they did on it, on Doom. And I was like, I'm in. I'm buying this game, right? So I buy the game, and I play, like, 20 minutes. And I'm ready to just, like, toss chunks, man. I'm like, okay, I gotta stop. But the game was so good that it, like, made me just go, I'm going back for more. Like, even though it's making me nauseous.
You'll push through it.
I'm pushing through to keep playing because I loved it. And so when it came to the Switch, I was like, I'm in, man. I'm buying it again. I don't care. And I did. I bought it again, and I was like, same thing. But I was impressed with the Switch version because because it runs so fast, it's hard to tell that the textures aren't spot on, you know. But I think they still did a hell of a job on it compared to, you know, what else is, you know, compared to what they could have done. Like, I think Bethesda and them guys on the ports, they're doing a good job on bringing those.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, it's not as high as a resolution, but when you put it down on a smaller display, it's harder to tell, or at least it's more forgiving.
It's yeah, it is absolutely, and it's just like, holy crap, like this is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So here's my question: what genre is missing on the Switch that you wish would come or show up over there? Like, what's some games that either games or genres or style of game that you feel like, man, why isn't this over here? I want to be playing this.
That's a good question. I would say earlier on it'd probably be shooters, but they're coming. This is a hard question. I'm gonna go to subgenre. I'm gonna say turn-based JRPGs because there's as far as I can remember, there's a lot of action RPGs, not a ton of turn-based ones.
Okay,
that's just like bring Persona 5 already. I really want Persona 5 on this thing.
Yeah,
I love Persona.
So, okay, I gotta ask, like, what is it about Persona? What is it that gets you hyped?
Oh, I should preface this with I was a very early Vita believer.
Okay.
Harder story to tell about that is I spent $400 on importing a Vita before it came to North America.
Oh my god!
That includes a $100 4GB memory card.
4 gig.
No one can complain to me about North American memory card prices because no one has paid $100 for a 4GB card.
That is nuts.
I'm looking at like 64GB cards for $90, and I'm like, oh my god.
I honestly, I'll be honest with you, I really feel that hurt the Vita big time.
Yeah, I mean it was another PSP because you had to buy a memory stick, and those were really weird when those first came out.
Yeah. Because I bought the Vita well after the life cycle, and like not probably midway through, I bought it, and because it was after I had my PS4, and I was like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna do some like streaming through, like, you know, what is it, what do they call it, the
remote play.
Remote play. I want to do some remote play.
I still use it for Tetris Effect on my PS4.
Do you really? So, well, you are a Tetris junkie. And, so, like, I was sitting there, and I was like, I bought it, and I was like, well, I'm going to get digital games. I'm not going to buy physical games for a handheld. And, oh my God, dude, I paid like $80 or $90 for a 32 gig. And I was like, dude, that is nuts, man. Like, I could go right over here and buy an SD card for like $20. You know?
Exactly.
It would, dude, that, I think that really, that hurt Sony big time. They should have not used proprietary cards on that.
I mean, Nintendo learned with that using SD cards now. It's working out great for them.
Oh, it's working perfectly for them. So I'm sorry to pull you off that. So
that was my gateway into Persona.
Persona 4, right?
Yeah, Persona 4 Golden. Mm-hmm. That was like a 80-hour game in my pocket, and I loved it so much. It's like life sim / dungeon crawler, and it works so well. When it came to PS3 and PS4 on Persona 5, it was so much grander scale because they kind of skipped the PS3, I guess, because Persona 5 came to it at the end of its life cycle. Mm-hmm. And so it's just like it's a grander scale game, and just in being on PS3, it makes sense that it could run on Switch.
Yeah.
In terms of technical probability. Yeah. But I went to Japan last summer, and I was like, I really want to play Persona. Why isn't this on Switch? Like, it makes so much sense for it to be on Switch. And I took my Vita instead, and I replayed Persona 4 Golden on the flight. It makes so much sense to come to the console.
Okay, so there's rumors. It's heavily rumored. It's starting to build momentum right now.
Very informed on those rumors. I'm keeping track of them.
Okay, so what's your take? What's your feeling? Do you believe them, or you just think it's BS, or?
My prediction is you'll hear about Persona 5 on Switch within the next 30 days.
Okay. So is it how your prediction or your fact?
I've heard some things.
Okay.
You know, I can't guarantee they're right.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone hears some things.
Yeah.
So my prediction is you'll hear About Persona 5, what's the subtitle? S on Switch and R on PS4 within the next 30 days.
Now, what exactly are those? Because that's what throws me off. What is the S and the R? Like, is it what is that? What does that mean?
My assumption is just different names to tell the different versions apart. I mean, you had a dancing Persona game that was essentially the same game, but different characters, different songs pertaining to different games. And they're called Dancing All Night, Dancing Starlight, Dancing Moonlight. I forget. They're so confusing to me. But essentially, just like Ruby and Sapphire, something to tell them apart.
Okay.
But my assumption, because based on Persona 4, the Persona 4 Golden, is you get like an extra hour of story stuff and then an extra boss, some extra stuff here and there. They actually added a character in Persona 4 Golden that wasn't in 4.
Okay.
So maybe like a new route or a character that was in the game but wasn't like so much part of the story now being more in the story.
So basically, if I'm understanding this properly, the game is there. These are just special editions where they just add on.
This is like Emerald. This is Platinum.
Okay. And that would you would go back through the whole entire game.
It's essentially like just. And I mean, I played Persona 5 I think 3 different times just because I had imported it in Japanese.
Bro, what the hell is wrong with you?
I love Persona.
No kidding. Holy cow.
It's a good game. Play it.
Wait. No. You don't get away with that one. You imported it from Japan?
Yeah.
How the hell did you play it?
I've been studying Japanese for about like a year and a half now.
Oh my god.
About a year and a half, 2 years.
Get out.
Yeah.
So, like, that helped you play, like, you understood what was going on?
I understood the gist of things. You'll like pull out the vocab word here and there, but like at the time I couldn't like read the entire paragraph of a dialogue sequence, but I understood what was happening at the time.
Oh my god. And you beat it that way?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So I beat it the first time, and then I beat it in English, and then I beat it in English the second time for New Game Plus.
What are you smoking over there? I mean, I know California, you're allowed to smoke now, but like, come on, man.
Just drinking coffee all the time, no smoking.
That is nuts. And so what you're telling me is if it comes to Switch, you're going to play it again.
Oh yeah, I'll probably play it twice if there's like New Game Plus and there's like something else.
Oh my god. Okay. Did you own a Wii U at all or no?
Yeah, I still own it. I still have it.
Did you play Tokyo Mirage Sessions?
That's the game I want people to port over. It's like everyone totally skipped out on that game. It's essentially Persona with, not with the Persona name. Everyone play Tokyo Mirage Sessions.
That's what I was going to ask you. Is it the same game basically?
You don't have a lot of the life sim stuff, but you get a lot of the dungeon stuff. And there's some pretty good music in there too.
Yeah, it is. I played it. I didn't beat it. I played a good portion of it. I got sidetracked by something. Something else came out at the same time, and I was like, I want to go play this, and then I just never went back. Because that's the problem with RPGs. If you leave, they're hard to get back to, because it's just like,
you don't know
it's
where
an
investment.
Yeah, you if you don't stick to it, you can struggle. I'm interested. I'm definitely interested. I wish they would bring Tokyo Mirage Sessions over. Like, that's the one I was like, man, port this game, because that one was like really.
That's the one they would have to work on too, because that required you to use the gamepad separately from the TV.
Yeah.
For like the main menu, I think, or like some texting app.
Yeah.
That was.
They had the phone where you could text each other and do stuff. That was kind of cool. So are you a Smash player or no?
Oh yeah, I love Smash Brothers.
So I guess Joker coming got you excited.
Very excited. I was at the Game Awards.
Are you really?
Yeah, I have like a live reaction, I think, on Twitter or Instagram of me like, I heard that the Joker, or that it was Persona, and I was like, oh, they're gonna announce Persona 5 on Switch, and then I did not expect that reaction. It's like, oh, okay. But I think I uploaded that to Twitter or Instagram. One of those two.
I gotta look for that one. I gotta find it. Watch you in the crowd scream like a little girl just skinny knee, like jumping down. That's amazing, dude. So you're thinking? Do you think this year Persona ends up on Switch?
I think it'll be announced in the next 30 days, and you'll see it by the fall, maybe like September.
Oh boy, you said that means you have a decision to make. Persona or Pokemon? I'm assuming Persona's going to win out.
We'll see. We'll see.
No, you'll get Persona. You'll beat Persona in 30 days, and then you'll be on the Pokemon by November.
I'll try to hit up Atlas like, hey, I want to review this game again.
That's the dream, right? That's the dream. I think that I don't believe that Nintendo does anything with Smash without purpose behind it. We definitely saw that with Square, like when they brought Cloud in. Like, dude, we got a deluge of Square games back on Nintendo, which I love. I never thought I could see the day that like Nintendo and Square would be, back together in some type of capacity, marriage, like working together. So it gets me excited to see them back doing this. But this, to me, like when they announced it, that was my initial reaction. Was like, okay, it's only a matter of time before Persona ends up on Switch. But the rumors seem to be getting a little bit more hot and heavy the past few weeks. I saw on Twitter the other day that someone... Now, they did announce one of them to go to PS4, right? I thought they announced one of the versions to go to PS4 already.
They said P5R on PS4, but they didn't say anything about it.
And the only... Okay, so the rumor of an S and an R is coming off of trademarks, correct?
I think a domain, a website domain. Okay,
so they're basically saying, like, hey, they've registered these names, essentially. There's got to be a reason for it. That's interesting.
I believe I forgot what the word was for R, but R, there's a word that means red in R. I think it's like rouge or something like that. That's my prediction for what R is going to stand for.
Rouge.
Something like that, because golden, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hope it works out for you, because I think you would be. I guess it's in your head now. Now, all of a sudden, you're going like, all right, I gotta get off this call so I can.
Got the strings all connected and everything.
Oh boy, Luis, man, thank you for coming on. This has
great
been a lot
to be
of
here,
fun, dude. This has been a lot of fun. Real quickly before we end it again, I just wanted to give you the opportunity, plug your channel, let people know about yourself and everything you do on the internet.
So my name is Luis. I review video games on pretty much every platform. You can find me at youtube.com/LuisGVN, and from there you can find all my other social network links.
Pretty awesome. And you can follow me over on Twitter and Instagram at Nintendo Gurus, nintendoguru.com as well. That is all. Peace out, Preston.